Thank you so much for joining this month's Arc Server Forum. Specifically for November 2025, we have a lot of great stuff planned for today. So briefly going over the agenda before we get into the content, we will begin with a demo on essential machine management with Megan. Next, Jane and Anika will be demoing WinRE configuration. Mutemwa and Amit will speak to the efforts on streamlining CIS baseline compliance, followed by a look into the OS settings inventory platform by Mutemwa and Brandon. And then finally, we will wrap up the session with Jalen speaking a bit on future Ansible support. So before getting into the essential machine management demo, I did want to mention that we have released version 1.58 for the connected machine agent. In this release, there are many different bug fixes and improvements. There are many ways to update to this version, one of them being via enabling automatic agent upgrade, which can be done through the portal or through PowerShell. This would ensure that you get the newest agent version shortly after its release while not having to manually initiate the update process. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Megan to speak on essential machine management.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eunice. If you wouldn't mind, just go ahead and click into the next slide, and then I can take over. My name is Megan McCrory, and I am a PM on the Azure Arc team. And so one thing that we're excited to be launching here at Ignite is what we're calling the Essential Machine Management Experience. And so what this is a lot of our customers today who are leveraging Azure management services like Update Manager, monitoring, change tracking, many of them are having to onboard to these set of services sort of fragmented. And we don't have a great at-scale experience, especially when you think about using these services between both Azure and Arc. And so one thing that we're looking at doing is how can we really unify the onboarding for these management services across Azure and Arc-enabled resources, as well as simplify the pricing. And so getting into the services first, and then we'll talk a little bit about the pricing. But what we have today is through this experience, customers are able to onboard their subscriptions. And when they onboard, you will basically get Azure Update Manager, where we'll have the periodic enablement turned on. We'll also configure the machine configuration security baselines in an audit-only mode, so we'll actually start auditing for this. 2, we'll configure monitoring insights and recommended alerts. And then we'll also configure change tracking and inventory with a DCR enabled. And then last but not least is we'll also have experience for configuring Defender services. And so by default, Defender for Cloud Foundational CSPM is included. And so all of this is done through a new experience that we'll demo here shortly. But just to talk a little bit about the pricing, today for Azure Virtual Machines, this is free to use. And then on the Azure Arc side, this is also free and covered under SA, PAYGO, as well as ESUs. However, for other Azure Arc machines, it's actually free during our preview period, but then it will become a priced meter once we actually get a little bit further along. And so for, Azure Arc machines outside of SA, ESU, and PAYGO, there will be an associated price to this, but it's going to be a fixed price. And so today you're sort of having to pay for each of these management services individually, but now we're bringing all of this together so it's an easy to understand pricing structure for you, so it's just easier for you to go into onboard too. So without further ado, let me actually switch over to the demo portion of this, and then we can definitely leave some time for questions. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here. All right. And with this, you can see that I'm on the Azure homepage. If I search in the search bar for Operations Center, this is a new landing page that our team has been working on. So you can actually see that, I've got things around my actions, around observability, security, resiliency. I have some observability information here. And so what we're trying to do is really bring together in a centralized view across your observability, security, resiliency, and configuration configuration, here's sort of everything you need to know. Then sort of drilling down, you can see all of these different pillars have a lot of the different services that you know and love today. We're just really bringing these together. We now have a configuration pillar too that sort of brings together policy, update management, your baseline compliance, your patch orchestration. And so this is again just an easier view for customers who are leveraging these management services to get an overview of sort of what is going on for all of your different workloads. Let's actually jump in though to the machine enrollment page. So this is where customers can come and enroll into that essential machine management package. So as we mentioned, it includes these different services here. And you'll notice that I can enable my subscription. So this is a subscription level enrollment. And so whenever you're selecting your subscription, all of your machines that are inside of this subscription that exists now or potentially in the future are going to be enrolled. So it's nice that you can set this once and then you have that peace of mind that any future machines will automatically have these services configured. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my subscription here. And then you'll notice that I've got the necessary role assignments. I'm an owner of my subscription, so I automatically have these. Otherwise, you can go and you can ask for the role-based access control for these specific roles. We also use managed identities, user-assigned MSIs, in order for us to assign the necessary policies. So I'm going to go ahead and select my managed identity here. And then after that, we really wanted to make this as lightweight as possible. And so what we did is we only want to take a few parameters of what is actually required for us to go and install these services. So the two things that we require are your log analytics workspace and then your Azure monitoring workspace. So this the Azure log analytics, this is for change tracking and inventory. And then for us to configure VM insights and those recommended alerts, we need your Azure monitoring workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and pick those two. And that's it. This is the only thing that I actually have to input as a parameter in order for us to be able to configure these services. Next up is the security management. And so we do offer that foundational CSPM as a part of this package. But then two, if you wanted to, for instance, upgrade and get the Defender for Servers Plan 2, you can also do so through this experience. After that, I can come and I can see the review and enable, so I can see all of the different services that will be here for my given subscription. And then I know that this is going to work across the board for any future machines that get assigned. I actually already have enabled this subscription though, and so just to take a quick view into it, if I select this view compliance, we're actually using Azure Policy as our backend as to how we're actually enabling all of these different services. So we now have a new managed ops policy that basically has a lot of the other policies sort of embedded under it. And so you'll notice that I've got a lot of non-compliant machines here, and then I have some that are fully compliant. So this is where I can actually come and drill down. So a lot of this we're reporting this back to you. We're looking at how we can actually make this as a better, experience after launch. But here you'll notice that, for instance, I've got 3 non-compliant machines that are missing the periodic assessment. So I can actually drill in here so I can see, what are those 3 machines that are non-compliant and how do I actually go and take action to make sure that they remain compliant for this given policy. So this is again where now customers can really come through and they can see, is everything actually being configured the way it should be? And if not, how do I go and remediate that? So again, we've got the onboarding already working end to end, and then we are leveraging policy, and we are sort of thinking about better integrations that we can have sort of post-Ignite on bringing this directly to the forefront of this machine enablement. But this is really nice, especially for our customers who are, used to using things like System Center configuration management, bringing everything together in one space with one set of ways that you can come and sort of see everything, onboard to everything is really what we're trying to go for here. But with that, we do have a session at Ignite where we'll cover this more, and so definitely check that out. But let me pause here in case there's any questions.
Megan, there's one question about the sign up.
Yeah, so that is a great question. And so one thing that we are doing is we're are, because this is through Operations Center, we're really trying to build more agentic scenarios across the board for these given management capabilities across these different pillars. So because of that, we're actually tied to the Copilot agent mode, which is another thing that's going to be launched here at Ignite. And so when you go to sign up, you see that you need to enroll to that feature flag to get access. And to get that feature flag enrollment, you do have to be a tenant level admin. We do know that this is a really large, a high requirement for a lot of our customers. And so for us, we actually are also, I'm going to paste in the chat window, there is a feature flag link where if you actually use that link that I pasted inside the chat, you can access this experience without having to have that tenant level admin access. And so this is a way that for some of our close partnerships, we definitely want to work with you guys, making sure that you get access, you can try it out, you can provide feedback. And then in the future, we are looking at how we can really lower that requirement to make it easy for our customers to sign up. But for now, either go through that registration through the Copilot agent mode or check out this flight link where you can kind of get this experience without having to do that pre-registration. All right. And so, yep, the coverage is also for Azure Local. Great question, Jeremy. So that is another one that is covered here. And then to the pricing for Azure Local machines will be covered, like ESU, PayGo, Azure Local, and SA Benefits will all get this as a part of, as at no additional cost as a part of your agreements. And then let's see. So for John, I am a tenant level admin. I use the feature flag and you get the same result. So it does require an actual for customers to actually go and we have to do some enablement. But let me double check on this, John. Maybe I can ping you on this one just to make sure that you're able to get access to this because we're still just making sure that all of the kinks are ironed out before Ignite. So we definitely want to make sure that this flow works. So if you're a tenant level, you should be able to at least sign up and then you should get some notification saying that your status is being reviewed. Yep, that's correct. Yeah, Justin. Yep, the approval's pending. And so this is where on our side, we actually need to go and give you access. So then you should receive an email once the access is assigned.
I'm sorry if I'm coming off mute, if you guys can hear me. So I'm sorry, could someone step, how do I get the dialogue that JF just posted? That how do I get there?
Let's see here. So I unfortunately don't have a subscription that I've unassigned. I don't know, Stephen, if you're on, if you have more info, or maybe we can post some screenshots in the chat window sort of after this, where we can sort of walk through what it looks like for sort of a clean environment.
I'm trying to get that info as well. I think it should be under the access management settings or learn more and sign up.
Yep, sorry, this is kind of coming hot off the press. So what we'll do, John, is we will paste in screenshots of exactly how we get to that area inside this chat. And then we can.
Oh wait,
we
I
can
found it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I just clicked all the way through to the access management, and it also says approval is pending. So I'm good. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a little bit of a hoops that you have to jump through for this one.
Hey, Megan, there's a question about the subscription rollout, but the rollout is on a single machine. Do you want to clarify that?
Yeah, and so for this, whenever you're enabling for your entire subscription. And what we're going to do is we're creating a policy that's basically going to look for all of your machines and your Azure Arc servers as well as your Azure virtual machines, and then it's going to go and assign that policy. So it is going to go and try to configure all of these services for all of the machines that we discover at the same time through Azure policy, through that mechanism. Yep, and I don't know if that helped, but yeah, go. I see someone with their hand raised. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Hello. For us that have kind of like deployed this all through Azure Policy currently on our system, let's say change tracking, would the migration basically look at like enabling this and then removing all of our policies? Like, how do we migrate from the stuff that we have currently set up to this, in a sense, setup?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, like, if you already have like existing DCRs that are associated to your like log analytics workspace for change tracking, those will remain. And so we're not going to reconfigure your policies. So same thing for like update management or Azure monitoring. So if you already like have a maintenance schedule, we're not going to touch that, but we're just going to make sure that any future machines that get enrolled will get this policy assigned.
So I guess my question is like, so if we enable this and you set up all your policy, can we come back and then basically remove our policy? So if my
Yeah.
change tracking goes to a DCR, I set this up to the same DCR, I can then in a sense remove all my old policies. The new policy takes effect. Obviously the current servers have that already. We're good to go.
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
Thank you.
And if you hit any issues, please reach out. But yes, that's how it's supposed to work and how it will work. Yep, and Jay, you're correct that you'll need to have the Copilot enabled to use this, unless you're using that link that I put in the chat window.
Hey, Megan, there's a question from Aiden on the disconnected. Do you want to clarify that? I don't think or Aiden, if you want to clarify your questions, maybe I wasn't answering it correctly here.
Oh, no, that's fine. I was just pointing out that as a sovereign private cloud hoster running Azure Local Disconnected and Azure Local Clusters on-prem, I may have customers running VM workloads on top of that would be interested in this feature back to their own Azure subscription. I'm just wondering if that's could eventually be supported.
I can say from the services perspective, like say the monitoring and update, I don't believe they are actually available in the disconnected environment. So in that case, then this would not work. Does it answer the question?
Yeah, that answers the question.
Okay.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yeah.
How
go
does
ahead.
that work for a hoster who has the telemetry going to their Azure subscription and they have a customer or 5 customers who want to also access to that telemetry for things like SQL, for example?
Sorry, Rahul. So the question is how can other people get access to the telemetry that's produced by these services?
Correct. I understand that telemetry today only flows back to a single Azure subscription. So if there are 5 customers for a hoster and they want access to it, how do you support those scenarios?
Got it. Yeah, and at this point, all we're really doing is configuring these services. So the way that it works, like we're not doing anything special. The one thing that we maybe could take a look at is for this operations center, this viewpoint is per subscription, but like if you're able to sort of give viewer access to those subs for those other hosters, could that be a way that they can actually see some of these details through this new operations center experience? But everything around RBAC control for the given subscription, as well as how after the fact of how these services customers are using them, nothing around that changes. This is really just an onboarding experience to those given services.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Awesome.
It looks like Stephen has another question. Maybe I can try to answer that one about the update ability to patch others applications like Visual Studio and Edge. This is something that's actually ongoing as a development. So yeah, it's not part of the current release for now, but it's AUM working on we're working with the update team on the application support as well. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Megan, for sharing more on essential machine management. And so next, we will be going into WinRE configuration with Jane and Anika. And so I will pass it off to Jane.
Yep, thanks, Eunice. Hey, everyone. I'm from the Arc platform product team and product manager. So this is something we are also going to announce at Ignite. The scenario here I would like to highlight is that if you remember back in July or summertime, we had the CrowdStrike, and when the machines are keep on rebooting. So as a response, Microsoft actually started a how to make Windows more resilient initiative. So there's actually a number of investment going into Windows on how to basically getting the boot critical update patch from to those machines once the machines start into those recovery mode. As part of that, we are creating two policies, Azure machine configuration policies, to allow you to do first audit whether your machines are configured correctly with the ability to actually boot goes into the Windows recovery environment as opposed to just keep on rebooting. So that's the first one. And the second one is that if you wanted to actually do the at scale deployment or configuration of the recovery environment, you can actually use the dying policy, deploy if not exist policy to actually doing the configuration. So that once you configure that, next time when incidents happens, you will be able to receive the boot critical patch. Something we're still working with the server team on, which is they're trying to enable that ability to actually receive the patch. That would be also getting private preview soon, and then in the April, I believe next year is the time we wanted to do the public preview. So that's kind of the sequence where phase rollout, we're helping with making Windows more resilient. All right, so with that, I'm going to hand it to Nika to do the demo. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jane. Hopefully everyone can hear me as well as see my screen. Like Jane mentioned, today I'm going to demo two machine configuration policies that are the audit Windows machines that do not have WinRE enabled, and the other policy is configure WinRE on Windows machines. So a couple of months back, I demoed this from the policy portal view. Today, I am excited to show you from the operations center view, where you have this one-stop view of all your Arc connected machines and the WinRE status for it. So for it, what I've done is I've gone to the operations center, clicked on machine configuration tab, and gone to the Windows recovery preview tab. And here I have reduced the scope to my resource group, but you can see I've set up 3 Windows machines that are Arc connected machines in different states of WinRE. So for the last machine, let's go ahead and click on check status, because we do not have any idea of what is the if WinRE is enabled or not. So in order for us to see it, we can audit it. That is the first policy that I've shown you in the previous slide. I'm going to click on audit. And this can take a bit to finish evaluating and report back, but does that mean you have to wait and never be able to enable directly? That's not the case. I can go ahead and directly enable as well, which I'm going to do for the sake of time for this demo. While all of these processes, let me go ahead and talk you through the different scenarios of what kind of results might come back. For example, for the first machine, you can see it is in the not enabled state. For this, what I've done is clicked on check status, and it reported that, hey, WinRE is not enabled. So I can go ahead, click on this, and enable this one as well. And for the next machine, it reported not enabled. Then I clicked on enable WinRE, and it is reporting enabled. So these are the two scenarios that I expect this Windows recovery status column to be filled with once the evaluation has completed. But let's go ahead and see a more drill down view of where you can take a look at, oh, is the policy really applied to my machine? What exactly is the message that is getting returned, right? So if you click on that Arc server machine and click on that machine configuration view, you can see that the policy is applied and it is as expected, returning non-compliant. If you click on this audit WinRE status, you should be able to see what is the message, the reasoning that is returned by the policy itself. Here it's saying that WinRE was expected to be enabled, but it is not. Hence, it is reporting non-compliant. And for the other machine, Contoso Win, here you can see that both the policies, audit WinRE and configure WinRE, are applied and reporting compliant. But since it's still processing for my Contoso Win 2 machine, I have recorded how the Contoso Win 1 machine went from non-compliant to compliant in a time-lapsed fashion. So hopefully this helps to see. Here you can see I'm clicking on audit. It is auditing. I wish it was this quick. Once I refresh, it is reporting non-compliant, as you can see here. And then once I click on enable, you can see it is reporting enabled. So that is the end-to-end view. Let me see, go back to my operations center and see if it has finished processing. Yes, it has. Here you can see for our Contoso Win 2, it is now enabled. And that concludes my demo. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jane and Anika. Let me present the slides again. So next up, we will be talking about CIS Baseline, so streaming CIS Baseline, and going through that experience with Mutemwa and Amit.
Thanks, Eunice. Hi, everyone. My name is Mutemwa Masheke. I'm excited to talk a little bit more about public preview availability for our customizable baselines. And in particular, we're also excited to introduce CIS benchmarks for Linux. And so we'll just move on to the next slide to learn a little bit more about the problem we're solving here. So, a couple months ago, we announced that we would be looking into, streamlining server management compliance through providing customization on the baseline policies that we provide in Azure, which include the Azure Windows baseline and the Azure Linux baseline. And alongside, we were exploring how to, meet customers who are leveraging CIS for Linux compliance where they're at. And one of the major problems is that it really is hard to, achieve this compliance today, with manual tracking and manual evaluation of fragmented tooling across your environment, as well as having a difficulty of customizing and enforcing hundreds of CIS rules each time they get published. And so we wanted to provide a way where you can focus more on describing your security posture using parameters in policy in a way that's programmatic and repeatable. And then machine config would handle the auditing and configuration from then on. And so we're excited to announce and showcase a demo where you would be able to see how we're enabling customers today to exclude and customize over the many 300 settings that are included in the CIS benchmark for Linux, view metadata per setting, as well as export and import these baseline artifacts as templated artifacts that you can use in your CI/CD workflows for deployment, as well as in the Azure portal. I'll hand it over to Amit, who's an engineer on our team working on this, to give us a demo.
Thanks, Mutemwa. I hope everybody can see my screen. Okay, so I'm going to start with a quick overview of Azure Security Baseline. It will help you to understand why we are bringing baseline customization and what problem it's solving. So currently we have these two security baseline policy. There is one more CIS baseline. We just introduced that. I will cover that in later section. But for now, these are the two security baseline, and this helps you to check if your machines are compliant to Microsoft recommendation or not. When you assign these policies to your subscription or management group, machine configuration, basically it's audits, scans and audit all of your machines and executes and generates a report. If the security posture of your machine, is according to the Microsoft recommendation, it's going to report the machine compliant, otherwise it's going to report it non-compliant. Now let's have a look on how a report look like. So this is a report without customization, and it says that it has audited my server 2025 machine, and it's not secure. It's not secure because there are so many rules that are not compliant. So this approach, it has a limitation. It expects that the security posture of your machine should exactly match with the recommendation. And that is not true all the time, because in certain situation, you would like to create exception. In certain situation, there are some rules, and those rules are not compliant, and you are okay with having those rules not compliant, and you want to exclude them. But you cannot do that with the default policy that we have today. And in certain situation, you would like to modify the rules, because the recommendation from Microsoft or from CIS, it doesn't meet your requirement, and you want to, modify the recommendation. Now, how do you solve this problem? So this problem can be solved if we allow you to customize this baseline. So to do that, we have created a dedicated user experience in Policy Portal for baseline customization. If you go to the Policy Portal under Authoring section, there is a new option. It's Machine Configuration. When you click on this, it shows you all the standards that you can modify before auditing your machines. So right now we are supporting CIS baseline for Linux server and Microsoft baselines for Windows and Linux machine. Now for this demo, let's assume I have different distros in my environment. I am using Ubuntu server and Red Hat server in my environment, and I want to audit those servers against CIS benchmark. But before auditing, I have few requirement, I have few exception that I want to create and then assign the CIS baseline. So to do that, I'll just select the CIS standard on the home page, and then I will click on modify settings. The next page, it lists all the benchmark that we are supporting at this moment, and we will keep adding more. But at this moment, we are supporting Alma, Oracle Linux, Red Hat, Rocky, SUSE, and Ubuntu. And as I said, that in my environment, I have Ubuntu server and Red Hat server. So I'm just going to select those two benchmark, and I will click on next. The next page is the customization page, and it lists all the CIS settings that are published for a particular distro and version. So for example, here it is listing 312 CIS settings that is applicable for Ubuntu Server 2404 and 297 settings that is applicable for Red Hat 9. Now, so for this demo, let's assume I'm only interested to audit, all the CIS settings that are relevant to cron job. So I'm just selecting those settings. Now, since I'm not security expert, I don't know what are these rules, and I need to know about this, right? So just to understand the rule, what I can do, I can just click on the rule, and it gives me all the details. What is this rule for? What can happen if this rule is not compliant? And if I want to make this rule compliant on a particular server, it tells me the command that I need to execute. Now, So I have customized the baseline for my Ubuntu 24.0 server. For Red Hat, let's assume that this rule it's not relevant, and I don't want to execute this rule, so I'm going to exclude this. So I'm done with the customizing these two baselines. Now I will click on next. The next page is the review page. It lets me review the modification for individual baselines. So if I just want to review what I have modified, I can just click on this button. It tells me that, okay, I have excluded all these rules and I have not edited any rules. So if I want to add it, I can, sorry. It also allows me to edit the recommendation. For example, for this rule, the file permission should be 007. I'm just making it up. I'm not happy with this recommendation. I want to make it more strict. So I can modify that rule. I can click on next. And if I review, it will say, hey, you have modified this rule. So this is how I can review. Once I'm done with customization, I'm just going to download all the customized setting on my machine, right? And if I want to review it later, or if I have, a team, a specific team that is going to review the customization, I can just pass this file to my team, get a approval, and after that, I can assign this policy. Now to assign your modified CIS baseline, you just click on this button. What it will do, it will take you to the assignment page. Select the CIS baseline, and here I define the scope. So to define the scope, I can just click on this button, and here I will select my subscription. So here I'm saying that, hey, I want to scan all the machines under this subscription and audit the CIS baseline for all those machines. Next step is, give a name for this assignment. And this is the important step that you need to follow. So here, if you remember, I have downloaded and saved the customized setting for CIS baseline. Here I'm going to import that file. This page, it validates that the content that you are specifying, it's valid. And here it has imported customized setting for Ubuntu 20.04 and Red Hat 9. I'll just select it, review, and create. That's all you have to do. Once you assign this policy, machine configuration, again, it's going to audit all of your servers against the customized CIS baseline, not against the full, standard, right? That was being done by the default experience. Now let's have a look how the compliance report look like. So to see the compliance report, same thing. You have to go to the policy, you go to the compliance page, and here you search your assignment, right? Click on the assignment. In the compliance view, it's going to show me the status of all the servers. Here it is showing that I have, these servers, and all these servers are not compliant for CIS baseline. Now let's have a look why this machine is not compliant. So to see the detail, you just click on detail and okay, and click on this link. So now here it is showing the report of CIS baseline. And if you notice, it is not auditing now 300 rules. It's auditing what I have specified at the time of customization. So this is the power of customization feature. It gives me control on what I want to audit and what I want to skip, based on my requirement. So that's all I had to demo. Back to you, Mutamba.
Thank you so much. I think we'll just go back to the slide now. If Eunice, you could help us.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Amit, for the wonderful demo. I'll just share a little bit. I think there's a lot of conversation in the chat about, what's coming down the pipeline for this feature. So now would be a good time to share that. We actually did read your mind, and so we will be enabling a CIS benchmark for Windows as well soon enough. We also have questions about whether or not we'll support remediation for these baselines, and we're happy to say that customization gives us an entry point into enabling remediation, and so that is also coming down the pipeline for us. In addition, we'll be making enhancements to the user experiences we're providing in the Azure portal for you to have an easy way of making edits to these artifacts, as well as sort of managing more effectively what the compliance is for these benchmarks. And so stay tuned for that. Ultimately, we do recognize that customers are leveraging baselines beyond CIS, like STIG, and that's something that we're also going to be enabling down the line. And we're also going to be enabling an experience that allows you to stay up to date across different versions for both all audit policies and remediation. So that's something that's exciting. And I'll send a link in the chat too on how you can join our internal queue, where we invite a set of customers to do previews for some of these features. But kind of along the lines of making deeper investments into Azure policy and more broadly the Azure governance space, we are also looking into enabling if a way for you to be able to effectively query across your entire server estate. So if we move on to the next slide, again. In machine config, we're actually moving further into natively providing a control plane that extends into in-guest configuration. And so what this means is, all the services that you get by default for having resources modeled natively as Azure resources will now extend to, settings that are inside the server in guest. And so the first scenario that we're tackling here is, enabling you to have an operating system settings inventory that you can query across your fleet. And this will be available in ARG soon. And, the beauty of leveraging ARG is this is the same way other resources are made available for querying at scale in Azure. And you can sort of use the pipelines that you've built around Azure Resource Graph for other governance scenarios to incorporate machine configuration as well. And so we have Brandon, who's an engineer on the team working on this feature, who's going to show us a demo on how you can leverage this, how this experience would look like. So I'll hand it over to you, Brandon.
Thanks, Matomwa. Hi, everyone. I'm Brandon Poe. I'm a developer on the Azure Machine Configuration team. Sorry, I'm having some trouble with my camera this morning, so I'm gonna have to leave that off. It's probably for the best. I have more of a radio face anyway. Let me share my screen here. Okay. Hopefully you guys are able to see. So most of you here are probably already know what Azure Resource Graph is. For those who might not, think of it as a massive centralized database that contains all of your Azure resources, spanning every resource group and subscription that you have. It allows you to easily explore and query your resources at scale. And in fact, it's actually the engine behind much of what you see in the Azure portal. So let's take a quick look. To get to it, you can just come up here to the search bar and type ARG, and we can click on Resource Graph Explorer. So here's what you get. At first glance, it can look a little intimidating to have this big blank query window, but it's okay. It's just simple Custo queries that we get to write. So let's start by just taking a look at what we have. We can search the resources table here and look for all of my virtual machines in my environment. And if we run that, we'll see here's my two VMs in my environment. And I can drill in to these machines and look at their individual properties, tags, all that good stuff. And I can include all of that in my queries. So I can also do things besides VMs. All my Azure resources are here. So I can come and say, show me all of my storage accounts, right? And since I have access to all the properties, I can use those as part of my query. So I can do things like show me just the storage accounts where I have disabled public blob access, for instance. And we can see here's just the resources that are scoped to that. That's great for all my cloud resources, but once you start thinking about what's inside your VMs, it's kind of a whole different world right now. We don't really have a cloud native experience for managing in-guest resources, but we want to change that. Our goal is to make managing things inside your VM's OS the same as managing your cloud resources. To start towards this goal, we'll be collecting inventory data from inside machines using Azure Machine Configuration. And the first set of data that we're collecting is local users and groups. So let's see what that looks like. I can switch over to a different table, the guest configuration resources table. And I can search for my users by saying guest configuration / users. Let's take a look at that. So here I can see all of the local users across my VMs that I have in my environment. I can see users like Azure user, local administrator, guest. And what you can actually see also is this works across both Azure machines and Arc servers. And if I drill into the properties of one of these, I can see what kind of data is available. We get things like when the password expires, when the password was last changed, is the count even enabled? This lets us answer some pretty cool questions that I'll get to in a minute. But we also have groups. So if I search here, I can see here's all my local groups. I can see like my local administrators group. And I can even see like drill in and see the members of that group. So what can I do with this? What kind of questions can I use this data to answer? Here's an example. So I can write a query that will let me see all of my user accounts in my environment that have a password that doesn't expire. So I run that, and here's the list of all the accounts that I might want to take a look at. We know that if they don't expire and they're ever compromised, a bad actor could have access to my environment indefinitely. So we should probably do something about that. So here's another example. Okay, so we all know it's bad practice to leave the default local administrator account enabled on our machines. Ideally, we'll disable it and use a different local admin account managed by tools like Laps. But how do we know if that's happening or not? So pretty easy now. I can run a query across my entire environment, searching for all instances of the administrator account where enabled is true. So if I run that, and my query is not working. Let me refresh. Well, okay, technical difficulty. Anyway, so I can use this to identify all of the administrator accounts in my environment that are enabled, and which ones I need to go fix. And the best part is I can do this across all of my machines without ever actually touching a single VM. No remote desktop is required here. And this is just the beginning. We have a lot more goodness coming in this space, so stay tuned. Back to you, Matoma.
Thanks, Brandon. Just wanted to say that, this is the first step in a long journey to much more natively integrate operating system settings as control plane resources in Azure, sort of similar to how you govern other scenarios for Azure policy. We'll be also lighting up that soon. So we always get questions on, how we can stay up to date with all the updates coming in from machine config side. So I just wanted to say that we have three main entry points that we're sort of prioritizing the next coming months to, both engage, kind of hear feedback, as well as, do some recruitment for some of the previews that we're doing. So the first things first is I just wanted to say, please follow updates from the Azure Governance and Management page in Microsoft Tech Community. You can also catch our sessions at Microsoft Ignite. I pasted the links down in the chat too, so you can sign up for that. And, for the remediation experience for baselines, as well as, understanding a little bit more what scenarios are priority for the operating system settings inventory feature that Brandon just demoed. I pasted the link in the chat so that you can sort of put in your information, and then that way we can prioritize as needed. So there's a lot of investment coming in the next couple of months, and I'm really excited to engage with you and hear from you what's top of mind and how you're enjoying some of the features we're lighting up. But thank you so much for the opportunity, Eunice, and let's keep in touch.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Mutemba and Brandon. So next I will pass it off to Jalen to talk a little bit about this opportunity here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Eunice. This will be quick. It's not a demo or anything, just more of a information that we're seeking feedback from you all. If you are a customer that leverages Azure and Ansible, we'd love to chat with you. Our team is exploring, as mentioned on the slide here, exploring the expansion of scenarios with Azure Management and Ansible. So if you are a customer that leverages Ansible in your environment, as well as Azure, then we'd love to chat with you. You can use the link that's shared there. I will share it in the chat as well. It's just a quick sign up link to provide your name, email, and company, and then I'll reach out personally to get time on the calendar with you. So yeah, excited to chat with folks and learn about your scenarios. And yeah, just a quick announcement there. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jalen. Well, that's all the content that we've got for this month. Again, we appreciate everyone for joining in, and we hope you enjoyed all the amazing content that was provided. We hope to see you next month in our next instance of the server forum. But for now, that's all. So thank